Mental health problems, loneliness, war in China, no hope of home ownership, inflation, civil war? Our generation really got the short end of the stick. But everything, and I mean everything, is paradoxical. And with this terrible near future, the long future is looking to be one of the best times in American history. Intrigued? So let me show you what our generation is going through, why our generation is going to have a golden age, and what you should do in the meantime. Let's start. I'm going to keep this part short, but we are on track for some really terrible things in the near future. I'm going to be talking about the US here, but the similar things apply to Europe and other parts of the world too. The economy is not doing great, with 6 to 8% inflation per year, as the government says. But an unfortunate fact about the world is that all governments bend statistics. Easy way to check the government's numbers is to go into a grocery store and compare the price increases there. Some items will increase at all, and some items will quintuple in price. But if you average out the numbers, you'll get somewhere between 20 and 50% increase. So 20 to 50% inflation per year, plus low wage growth. It's not looking so hot. And many of the older people, the generations before us, will say, "We used to make $7 an hour. Now you kids are making $15.50, doing half the work." And that's only true for certain states, first of all. And second, I like to bring up the example of candy bars. You used to be able to get a candy bar for 50 cents, and now a candy bar costs $2.49. So we've doubled wages and quintupled inflation. And something a little more important than candy bars, home ownership is virtually impossible for us. I mean, my average middle-class style house is going for $500,000, and I don't live in a city. A horse stall in New York City costs $2,500 a month. In addition, we're seeing some terrible effects of the internet. We haven't really used social media or the internet very well at all. 80% of all Gen Z reports feeling lonely sometimes or all the time. Isn't that crazy? Most of our generation still goes to school, either high school or college, and yet we still find a way to be lonely. School is practically made for socialization, and this is because most of Gen Z spends over 4 hours a day on their phone, and 30% more than 5. This number does include YouTube, which people say, and rightfully so, that it's different than other social media apps. But at the end of the day, it is social media. And it's especially bad due to the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. Relationships aren't doing so hot either. Only 38% of our generation is in committed relationships. Say quotes because, of course, it's going to be largely inflated by mostly women saying that they're in a committed relationship, when in reality they're just getting screwed over by a guy. But we do have like 80% of our generation that's doing like casual dating and whatnot, so that's good. And with all this casual dating, friends with benefits, and situationships, we must be doing some very sinful behavior, and having a lot of fun while doing it. Women are. 17% of women are virgins compared to 30% of men. And this number is just men that are admitting to it. Imagine how many men are just too insecure about the fact and not admitting it. That means there's some major polygamy. All these girls going with all these chads who don't even like these women and who these women catch feelings for, and then feel used once they finally realize that the chad doesn't care about them. And I mean, the chad doesn't get a good deal out of this either because he just feels sad, disappointed, like he's not accomplishing anything. Just feels like he's masturbating with a girl's body. Of course, I may be biased because I'm a man, but I feel like this is pretty common knowledge nowadays. All this happening while we also have major prospects for war. I mean, China's militarizing like crazy. They're looking to probably invade Taiwan, but also have troops ready for Korea, Vietnam, and possibly India as well. Tie this in with North Korea, Iran, Middle East in general, possibly Russia. What a terrible time to be alive. We have a bad economy, internet addiction, lack of friends, terrible dating opportunities, bad geopolitical situation, and so many other factors really have screwed us over. But guess what? There is light at the end of this tunnel. We may like to think that our situation is unique, but this is actually very common in human history. Every 200 years or so, there just so happens to be a crash in standard of living and also political instability in the world. We just so happen to be born during that time. After the chaos clears, a height unimaginable to us is right after. What am I saying? After we get through these next 20 to 30 years, it'll be a golden age for us. Think about it from what you remember in the past. The 50s and 60s are called the best era to have lived in American history, right after the pain that was the Great Depression and World War II. Only 30% of the wealth of America was controlled by the top 10% families in the 50s and 60s, compared to over 50% today. And funnily enough, 50% of the wealth was controlled by the top 10% of the families in 1928. Then a huge drop in inequality happened after the Great Depression, and a humongous drop happened from the war taxes of World War II. My grandfather, who studied social history, which is basically studying how history affected people instead of nations, said that crashes and recessions like the Great Depression hurt the poor a lot. Food is now guaranteed for them. But by a percent of wealth, the wealthy get hit the worst, given that 99% of their wealth is based upon the the health of the economy rather than their own labor. Think about how home ownership rates could be affected for our new future. In the 50s and 60s, it took 2 years of income to buy a house. Nowadays, closer to 12 or 13 times of yearly income. Imagine if a new house just cost $62,000. How much better would that be for raising a family and kids? I know, it's unbelievable for us today, knowing that we have houses going for hundreds of thousands, but this is what it was like in the 50s and 60s. And for all of you that believe in God, which is smaller than the average for the US, because the US is at 81% and Gen Z is around 70%. There are usually religious revivals after these crises. In the case of America, around the 40s is seeming to be a religious revival in the country. The 1740s was the Great Awakening, the 1840s was the Second Great Awakening. 1940s was the post-World War II religious boom, after so many had lost faith in God during Depression. And we really need that as a country. 81% of people believe in God, but only 24% attend church on a weekly basis, which number is probably skewed up because people don't want to look bad. That means belief in God is there, but average people are scared by these drag queens getting ordained and these pride flags being flown around. But during the 40s, expect a religious revival. With better economics, social, and religious life, we will be set up in our 30s and 40s to have a wonderful time. And you know what that means more importantly? Our children and their children will grow up in a spectacular world. You're probably saying to yourself, why does this random guy talk about how great life is going to be in our middle age? We still got 20 years of pain to go through. Well, I think I can help with that, or at least tell you what I'm trying to accomplish through this period. The next 20 years are going to be chaotic. Unstable economies, unstable relationships, unstable geopolitics, and unstable everything else. But when there is chaos, there is opportunity. So it seems pretty simple to me what to do. Take advantage of the chaos and the opportunities it creates. A lot of companies nowadays are wasteful, disliked, or corrupt. Think about how nobody likes the news anymore, or how cable TV is on a decline from soaring prices. Think about a market where you think change is needed, and try to take advantage of that. You hit big with enough hard work and luck. You can set you and your next 2 generations, minimum, up for life. That's why I'm focusing on YouTube so much right now. YouTube and web content in general is going to rise at the expense of television. People keep saying YouTube is too overcompetitive or too overcrowded, but there are more and more people joining YouTube every day, and their careers striking big and making a living every day. The best part about social media is that you can use social media to launch any other business. You can launch into other businesses that you think are gonna need some change and capitalize on those. There's a book my friend mentioned to me called Essentialism. It's about how you'll find success if you visualize your day and replace all the habits that don't help you achieve your goals and replace them with habits that do help you achieve your goals. If you spend your time working out, working on your business, and meditating, and do all the other good habits that you hear on YouTube, instead of video games, slapping your Slim Jim, and TikTok, you'll be in a good spot. The world is definitely going to get a lot more difficult for the next 20 or 30 years. But if you don't get yourself caught up feeling depressed or sad about this future, and put in lots of hard work, you can make it through the end of this crisis at a spot in your life you could have never imagined. My success is guaranteed if I never give up and work harder than everybody else. And the same will be true for you. Call me optimistic, but catch me in 20 years. So put in the work, put in the hour, and think better.